And LoveSweetCharity. And LoveSweetCharity.
It's your line now.
Hi, I'm Charity. I play a Draenei Shaman.
That's totally going on the
difficulties.
bloopers, Charity.
Oh,
She set her mic up so she could push to talk, and I think she forgot to push the button.
Ah.
Maybe she was talking just fine for a bit there.
All right, we'll give her a second.
You don't do so well lately with special guests.
Something I'd said? Like, it just, oh, man.
Testing.
There you go.
I muted my mic.
Oh, yeah. You win. You got it.
I told you, the first thing that happened.
I did it last week. It's somebody else's turn.
It's all the pressure. It's all the pressure.
I'm so sorry.
And LoveSweetCharity. Hey everybody, welcome to Lions Pride Tavern podcast number 65. Tonight we find out how we did in this weekend's first raid of Antorus the Burning Throne. And taking over for Tapachino through the holidays is our surprise guest healer, member LoveSweetCharity.
Yay, welcome.
But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Stafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is JobUi.
Hi, I'm JobUi. I play a Worgen Frost Mage.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
And Epistle from up north.
Hey, greetings. It's actually surprisingly warm here. But anyway, yep, I play Pistol, a couple of different versions thereof. Draenei Prediction Paladin, though, mostly.
And LoveSweetCharity.
Hey guys, I'm your Draenei Resto Shaman.
So welcome. How did everybody do this week? Did we, everybody going good and getting ready for the holidays coming up?
Oh man, I had an awesome week this week. I got my fire spec to 333 on his relics, so now both my fire and frost are at 333 on relics. I got both the fire and frost mage tower challenges completed, and I'm getting some faster internet soon, so that's really great.
Nice.
Ooh, faster internet. Yeah, but you're already
1
fast
gigabit.
enough. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, like he needs it.
Well, that's what I'm getting is the 1 gigabit, so it's gonna be. I'm eager.
More power.
More bandwidth.
You know, sometimes more isn't better.
What?
I'm not sure what you mean by that, but
The words make sense, but the concept, I just don't. Yeah.
So anybody else got anything to throw in this week that they did special?
Not on the good side. This was not a good week, and then I got sick, and so it's just not a good week. But it's okay. It'll get better.
Mine was a crazy week, but I'm with Lorelei there. I think this next week's looking a lot better, and the week after that even better and better.
Yeah, in 3 weeks it'll be really good.
That's when school's out, right?
School's out.
Maybe.
I mean,
Christmas
my week's
vacation.
been pretty crappy, but today's the highlight, so.
Well, yeah. If somebody was watching our live stream, I think they heard that Charity's dog broke her monitor.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
I had to move it upstairs because the internet downstairs isn't working, and the dog went right under my feet, and boom.
Not
Yeah.
a dog monitor, a computer monitor. Please tell me it was a very small, very cheap one and easily replaced.
About 150.
Ooh.
I mean, it was an actual TV with a small TV. So.
Bad dog. Bad.
Yeah. It's all right. It's just money, right?
Well, now you have an excuse to go buy a bigger one.
Oh,
See?
okay.
That's the way it works in my household.
Yeah, with our blessing.
I
with
usually
our
hook
blessing.
up to the TV if I'm stagnant anyway, so. Right now I'm on this teeny tiny little monitor.
Well, at least you don't have to play right now. You did pretty good playing on your teeny monitor
I know,
on Sunday,
right?
so yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
At least I stayed alive for like 10 seconds before I got killed.
We sacrificed you on purpose, don't
I
you
know.
understand?
So I can make the calls. I get it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, speaking of that, let's go ahead and start us off, JoBui. How we did on our first ever raid of Antorus.
You know, Antorus the Burning Throne has, kind of surprised me a little bit. First thing I want to say about that is the jobs are back. There are jobs to be had for players in Antorus the Burning Throne. We've talked about that in the past, but
Very true.
It's back. So, Guidotti Worldbreaker one-shotted. It was a pretty simple fight. We had a fairly decent plan in place. It's not that difficult to work out anyway. We had a little bit of a hiccup in the middle where people didn't quite understand what the plan was until, we called it out and said, no, just stand still, wait for the things to drop, and then move to the other marker. And then once everybody got that down, it was lickety-split. We got through that boss, moved on to Fellhounds. Fellhounds, like Guidotti Worldbreaker, went really smooth. Went over quick, strategy for it, made some adjustments on it.
Could you say it got along, little doggy?
Yeah, better than your dog.
Yeah, good
Uh-huh.
dog. Good dogs. Good
Ow.
dogs.
Uh-huh.
And then we got Fellhounds down, moved on to Antoran High Command, and that's where we spent the rest of the first night. Was on Antorus High Command. We got it down pretty far. I think it was like
8%.
9%. 8%? Yeah. And that was, it was really 10% when everyone was still alive. And then there was just 2 tanks that were just beating on the boss until it got down to 8%. But, it was interesting. We were learning some new things about it, like when to pop the shields and stuff and all of that. And people were getting used to becoming pod people. It went pretty well. Saturday night, we came back, went in after Antoran High Command. We applied some of those things that we were working on the night before. We did a few pulls. I don't recall how many. And then we got Antoran High Command down, which was fantastic. It did take some cleaning up here and there, but we swapped out who was getting into the pods, and we had to swap out mid-fight who was getting into the pods occasionally if people died or whatnot. But all in all, it went well. We learned a little bit more about the mechanics. Definitely a tougher fight. Then we went on to Portal Keeper Hezebel. And Portal Keeper, I think it took us 2 pulls to get Portal Keeper down. The first one, it went pretty well, but there was some hiccups here and there. And then I think it was on the Shadow Portal. Most of the people went up before the tank got up there because the tank got rooted. And we ended up getting killed by the mini-boss up in purple pretty quickly.
You really do need a tank from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He
And,
got toothpasted to the ground.
So the next time when we
I got
to
up there,
the
there's
purple,
what are all these bodies? What?
Yeah. Well, I got up there and I was expecting Tank to have it, so I'm like, kill the mini boss, and then the mini boss ran over and was like, kill JoBui, and I was like, oh.
I even turned my pet's taunt on to see if I could pet taunt it, and didn't work.
Yeah. So, but the next time, everybody kind of hung out right outside the purple portal, the shadow portal, and watched him ride his big elephant into the portal, and then we all followed in afterwards, and it went really clean.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, and we got back out of there, heroed, and finished off the boss. We got Portal Keeper down on our second try. And that was where we ended, I think, the evening, was right there with Portal Keeper.
Yeah, it was our last pull that we got.
Right.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time discussing, and then I think there was a we needed another healer, so we brought another healer in. And that took a little bit of time. Something else happened that we were waiting on something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, we had some hiccups there, some technical issues with various players and stuff. But neither here nor there. It's still not bad for our first week. We got 4 bosses down. I think we're going to change up the order for next week. We'll probably go Guidotti, Worldbreaker, Fellhounds, Portal Keeper, and maybe try out the Eonar, the Lifebinder, however you pronounce that, and then go to Antorus High Command.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. Because everything I'm hearing from other raiders, like not in our group and stuff, is that Eonar, the Lifebinder fight is actually pretty simple once you learn the pattern. It's not so bad. It's easily a farm boss from what I'm hearing. And so I'm thinking if we go there and try that one out, either which way, we still have to get all 5 before we move on to the one after the other bosses. So, I mean, we could try it, and if it turns out it's not working out so great, we could always go back to Antorus High Command. But I think Antorus High Command, from what I've seen, is probably going to be the toughest of the first 5.
That being said, I think we've learned most of the work on that one. Like, as people are getting better at the pods, the fight got easier and easier.
Yeah.
So as you're saying, it's that whole idea of jobs, and people have had to pick it up. Now, we were alternating quite a few people in and out of there, too. So out of the whole raid, how many people do you think have had a chance to get to see it and get a feel for it?
Let's see here. There was, I jumped in at one point. We had Spiffy, Dizzy, Niobe, Arkenshadow, Jalexi, and I think Mommy Fortuna got in there, but I don't think that counts because all she did was go, I can't see the interface. What's happening? And everybody was like, oh, get out of there.
That again.
And she's like, I can't get out. We're like, get out of there. She's like, I can't get out. They're like, stop healing her. And then eventually the boss kicked her out and we moved on. So I was like, all right, you're off the Pod People crew for now.
You're banned.
Wasn't it Formir who was calling out when to use the different attacks? Because I thought he did a really good job with that.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
I thought that was.
I think that was
Spiffy.
Was it?
Was Disney
No,
or Spiffy?
It was Spiffy.
It was
okay.
Yeah, and he had figured out like on the admirals.
Shield.
Yeah, well, the admiral, he figured out the admiral, like when to drop the admiral's secondary ability so that it would do the most damage on the ads as they popped out, and he also figured out like with something else I hadn't picked up on, which is that you keep spamming the first ability, and you only have like 3 or 4 seconds to keep refreshing that one because it's got a dot that stacks up to 15 times, which increases damage on the main boss, and then. He got the timing down for the towers. He was a big help on that fight.
And that feels like it's really that's the trick. If you got your positioning down, that's the mechanic we have to really figure out to be successful. So that's why I'm kind of asking how many got a feel for that, because as we as a group increase our ability, we can have someone swap in if somebody dies. We can just be able to handle that mechanic, and increasingly I think High Command is going to be straightforward for us.
Yeah, I think we'll get it down pretty fast. Because the one time that we did get it down, it was a lot of the little mechanics that as we went along, it was like, oh, crap, we got to do this. And it was the shield that was really important. I think that was wiping us every time, is that we were mistiming those shields. And he had it down to where when DBM said, go to the shield, that's when you actually activated the shield. And people were activating it prior to that, and it would go away just as the bombs hit. And I think that was what our real problem was.
Well, and that was part of it. The other part was the fact that it wasn't always located well. So as tanks, we had to kind of shimmy over a little bit. And it's got a frontal cone, the boss. You don't want to do that if you don't have to. And so it got better and better being accurately placed, which meant we could just keep on standing and no movement and minimize distraction or cooldowns, all that kind of stuff. So it's just way better as people got better at placing them.
I feel like it was a lot of luck too, because not just the tanks, but there would be times when there would be 3 ads decided to spin right on top of everyone inside the bubble, and we'd all just take too much damage, plus it was a lot of, luck. Because after it would just, and then once those ads were not there as much, we had less trouble with that, which made it less luck involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Well, with the ads too, that was actually something that we addressed there, which was, hey, everybody, switch to a stronger AOE configuration so that we can nuke these little ads down a little faster. And then we started getting them more under control, so there wasn't like 6 of them up at one time.
Exactly, and it was so much better the second night because of that. Like, we weren't getting pounded in the face as we're trying to cast a heal.
Right.
Can they be stunned or slowed or snared or
I don't
all
think
of it?
so.
Nope.
Or kited out even? Is there enough warning to know? Okay.
I tried, at one point I tried
They just
to use...
pick a target and take it.
Yeah, they pick a random target at range, and then they run out and do a whirlwind on that target. When it hits you, it's just, like GTFO starts going, meh, meh, because I'm getting whacked with something, and DBM's telling me, somebody else gets targeted with the shock
how did that
reverse.
go again?
Meh, meh,
That's what mine sounds like, yeah.
Yeah, so, and so, I move out of it. But yeah, sometimes, like, there was one point where, and I know what people are talking about, where I'm sitting there and one charged at me, so I moved out of his little whirlwind to the right, and then another one charged at me, and I moved out of that, and another one charged at me. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, and if I was anywhere near Tap or there was another mage.
Phaedra.
Yeah, it seemed like they were attacked the most.
They were magnets.
Oh, yeah.
After a while, I decided, okay, where are they at? I'm going over here. Like, I stayed next to our warlock because I was like, oh, he's not getting hit as much. And when he did, like, we just spread away from each other, and then we'd come back. Like, I had no problems over there.
Another thing we did that I thought was good was when we isolated ourselves to trying to stay inside each of the 2 orange slices, as we called it, the 2 sections of the floor where the pods were. So, you'd move there and the mines would show up there. They wouldn't be spread all over the room. And that way, when we moved around, it was also more organized for cleaning up the older mines versus the younger mines.
Yeah, I think that was a really good idea until I had backed up. So normally when the whirlwind comes at me, or when the guy comes at me and spins around, I just back up a little bit, and I'm on the other side of him because he stays right there. He doesn't follow you or anything. And I backed right up against the wall. That was the time that I went down, first person down in that pole within like 20 seconds. I was like, God bless it. I backed right up in the wall. I was like, oh, I can't back. Oh, man.
And I said, yay, we Stafford sacrifice. We're going to get this one.
I actually remember that. I looked at the raid frames and I saw you were dead, and I was like, what the? How is he dead?
It had gone through my head too.
I almost called for a res, and I thought, nope, I'm not going to be the idiot who died at the beginning and calls for a res and gets it, and then the tank goes down and wipes the whole group. So I just stayed down. It was one of those things I wanted to position myself in one of the orange slices to because the bombs, when the mines come in, it's supposed to put 5 mines down in an area around somebody. So I wanted to be by myself, but I was backed up against the wall. Yeah, that didn't work.
Now, I will point out, though, you don't have to worry about the tanks going down on that fight. I think we're fine.
Yeah, right?
They seem to be okay.
Yeah, we could stay up for as long as he doesn't rage. We could do this all day.
So, for our listeners, the whole raid wiped at about, I want to say 12%.
About that.
And, the 2 tanks were up, and we're like, okay, well, we'll take the tanks down. And at 10%, the tanks were still up. And at 9%, the tanks were still up. And then at 8%, finally the tanks went down.
Yeah, some kind of a rage mechanic and whoomp.
That's how my second raids go too. Usually I'm just sitting there finishing off the boss. And we've beaten a couple bosses that way. Just me finishing off the boss. So...
We've had that where we're all cheering Durag on. Go, Durag, go!
Uh-huh. Exactly. They're like, how did you... I don't know. I just sat there and killed it and hit cooldown.
And then he comes out on break. He comes out on break and he goes, man, I was hitting every cooldown. I was doing everything I could.
Yeah, we both were, and we kept on going, but once it got to the sort of one-shot hit, we were done. What I'm trying to figure out is the solution for this fight. just to fine tune it, is it luck with those whirlwinds? Is it just we have to DPS them down faster?
I mean, we've already fixed that big problem.
You feel like that's pretty much gone now?
Now that our AoE is out more, like the DPS did a very good job. Once those ads were down, our heals were so much better, and we were able to coordinate so much better because we weren't using our cooldowns on ads.
And the pods? Like, were the pods also part of that? Like, I heard something about people using pods to damage the ads as well.
Right.
Yes.
Well, it can be predicted, okay? We can control where those shock troopers go, right? Like, the guide says that the Fellblade shock trooper does demonic charge, which charges a random enemy from among the 3 furthest enemies, knocking back and slowing the enemy by 30% for 6 seconds. So we can set up where those are going to go and have 3 people
always on the outside.
I vote we sacrifice hunters.
I mean, we have enough of them. We can't even remember what hunter was helping
exactly.
who.
And one dies all the time, so.
Does any kind of personal shield or something help with that?
Turtle.
Yeah,
Like
sure,
like
course.
turtle or ice block or something.
All you have to do is move out of the way. Just don't back into the wall.
Even the
Right.
and even like the personal like ice barrier from my shield doesn't really get knocked out from them doing their whirlwind unless I stand in it for a long time. They arrive, they do a little bit of damage, I move, and then I'm not getting any more damage.
Right.
Well,
Right, but
it's
we
not
don't want
that
them standing in
easy
the
as a
middle of the
healer,
shield.
though. When I'm saving somebody else's life.
Right. You want to stand there and finish your cast, right?
Yeah, so not in the middle of the shield. That's a real problem if that
Well,
happens.
let's just decide that right now, and let's try that next week. Is we'll designate 3 hunters if that's what it wants to be, because it's got to be arranged anyway. To be the furthest back, and everybody else stay forward. Now, by being the 3 furthest back, there's going to be bombs back there, because I guarantee they'll get hit with mines too. So we'll be pushing the limit on trying to keep the mines in the orange slices. But
Sure, but just a foot back, not like halfway across the room.
No, we just basically have them stand up near the middle, and everybody else move a little bit in. And then the shock troopers will always go towards the middle, and everybody knows where they're going, and they can avoid them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Can we have those 3 off to the side somewhere, so the shock troopers always go off to the side? Yeah, I don't know if they do damage as they run through.
No, they don't. They do their whirlwind in place, and then once they finish their whirlwind, then they just like march back to the boss, and then they get back there and they get cleaved and stuff. In between, they don't do any other damage. They just march. So it's the really dangerous one in there is the fanatical pyromancer who needs to be interrupted and nuked and melted. And they're more dangerous in heroic. But we were handling that very, very well. The fanatical pyromancers were being interrupted. They were being melted. So
I didn't see them for very long. The DPS did a very good job.
Well, the only time I did see when they stayed up a little longer was after the shield phase on the engineer. When we were moving over, there was always seemed to be one still left.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And that people were running over and not nuking it down. Yeah.
Well, the thing is it stops and it casts. And then it runs a little bit and it stops and it casts, right? And so as it gets interrupted, it starts marching some more. I was trying to focus on that as I noticed that it was lagging a little bit behind, because the shock troopers will just slowly march their way across the platform till they reach the other side. But I was trying to nuke those pyromancers. Like I would move over to the other side, turn around, and then start killing the pyromancer, which really is probably not good for getting the pyromancer to run across the room because I'm also slowing it as I'm hitting it with my ice attacks. But
no, that helped because it gave any of us in the melee that were trying to follow it a chance to actually stop and hit him.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. So, but in any case, the last few pulls, I noticed that pyromancer was getting melted on its way across, and it didn't make it to the other boss.
And that was due to our warlock. He kept announcing, "Hey, we got to nuke that pyromancer. We got to, because otherwise, I have a hard time seeing it over the shock troopers."
Sure.
But
and you guys can't see everything. The fact that everybody was being so good about communication helped so much, and that's really important. That's why we do so well as healers. We're talking the whole time, communicating what we're going to do next.
Yeah. And there's also a really nice thing that on that particular fight, and this is kind of an aside, but there's always going to be that player who's struggling a little bit with DPS. That they're trying hard, but they're just not getting the numbers right. And those pods provide a really nice avenue for those players to, get some good numbers because they've got all those attacks and stuff that they can use in there. I noticed nearing top of the charts with some of the with some of the pod people, jumping in there who've been struggling on occasion with DPS.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really nice way for those players to get in there and they've got a job and they're helping the raid and they're contributing on the DPS and I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the first boss real quick. Gorath E.
Guidotti Worldbreaker.
Gorath E.
Guidotti.
Because they couldn't come up with another name. They had to make it the same name as the first boss of the last raid.
It's not Guidotti.
And added I.
Yeah.
Maybe in development was Guidotti.
Maybe he's Canadian, okay?
Oh,
no,
right.
that would be Guidotti A.
Right,
Yeah,
that'd be
Guidotti.
Guidotti. No, it's Guidotti E.
Yeah, E. It's more Spanish.
Well,
Oh,
it's
okay.
I. Guidotti.
Spanish!
Maybe it's Guidotti.
I don't know, but it's spelled the same way. And I was just like, okay, and it's just a walk-through boss again.
Well,
So,
it wouldn't be if we didn't know the mechanics.
Well, you have, like I said at the beginning of the raid too, when we were doing so well, we have heroic gear, so we're gonna get at least halfway through of the stuff that we already have heroic gear for. That's the whole point.
Sure.
And then once we get into heroic, that's when it's gonna start getting more challenging again, because that's what we have gear for. If we had mythic gear, it would be easy all the way up through, and then when we got halfway through heroic, we'd start having a challenge again.
yeah, very true.
And
So-
and on top of that, another thing that helped on that, a lot of our raiders, they this week they went out and they watched videos.
You
They
mean
came prepared.
they can do that?
Sure did.
Jobui?
They sure did. I didn't notice anybody who was like, I haven't watched the videos.
No,
I don't know what's happening.
Everybody told you what to do, though.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
Everybody
That
had
was
an
funny.
opinion.
That was funny.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
had an opinion. It was great. I didn't mind. I'm like, yeah, you
Because
want to do it that
occasionally
way?
you were occasionally saying, well, we need to do this, and people are, oh no, that's heroic. That doesn't happen on normal.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I studied I studied all the heroic ones, right? So and I tried to note where it was a heroic mechanic or not, but I mean I started writing up a bunch of stuff and I missed that's only in heroic or that's whatever. And people were correcting me and I'm like, that's great. And they're like, well, we should do this instead. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Let's do that. Let's do it. And we'll try it that way.
It works. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but that was great and that helped a ton, right? We
That's
walk
less
in there.
you have to worry about.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, everybody comes prepared, right? And so when you hit that first boss, and everybody's seen the fight, they've watched the videos, maybe they've watched more than one video, maybe they've read the notes that I wrote up, maybe they downloaded the weak aura and installed it, or not downloaded, but copied and installed the weak aura that I created for it to help out. Maybe they did those things, and maybe it makes it go smooth enough that we get it in one pull. Right? Whereas maybe we would have taken a couple pulls if people would have walked in and gone, oh, I didn't get around to watching the video this week. What's
Well,
that?
Can you
that's
carry
because
me?
they were told you need to do it because
Right.
it's not going to be completely explained to you.
Right.
Which we completely explained anyway.
No, we
Well,
didn't.
when we got
that's
on the first
fine.
night, we got to high command, and there was a whole lot more explanation. But that's okay because I was thinking, wait, I hadn't really watched that third one carefully.
But
Because we
there-
are all prepared
lot
for the
going
first
on with
two.
that one.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. And it's way more complicated. Yeah.
And the thing is, you'll notice there was one of the things that was key difference is I explained what to do, but I didn't explain what those mechanics were most of the time. Where I just said, we're gonna go here for this. We're gonna
Yes,
go
very
there
true.
for that.
Because you have to have a strat. Just because you know what's going to happen doesn't mean you're going to do the same thing as everybody else.
Right, but I didn't have to explain, well, this mechanic is this, and it looks like that, and it shows up here, and it's this long, blah, blah, blah. No, it was just, go here for this. And they're all
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And at some points, they were like, no, we're supposed to go there for that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, we'll do that instead.
What's
Yeah.
really fun is who knew which trash to clear. To me, that was a sign of amazing expertise.
Which trash to clear?
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
always to know which route to go to get to the boss. Several times there's I think it's left. Nope, I think it's right. We got to kill that mob. Nope, this
Well,
one.
they don't
Yeah.
have that in the videos.
Exactly.
Right, and Durag one time asked me, he's like, "Do we have to kill this guy to get through?" I'm like, "Dude, I've never killed any of this
How
trash.
would it be?
I have no idea."
Yeah, actually, he was probably whispering you the time I just jumped off the one platform and said, "I'm going to pull the stuff on the right."
Well, I mean, to be fair, he was asking me because I'd been in there, and you thought he was talking to you. But I'm very directionally challenged, so I didn't know either. I forgot. I was like, yeah, JoBui, do you know? I could.
Yeah, but I mean, all in all, now the one thing I will say about the raid is that so far, and what we've seen in it, the environment and the different raid environments, they felt kind of one-notey to me. Like it didn't feel as differentiated, like even as like Nighthold, or Tumasar Garrus, where you go from one boss to the next, and each boss's environment seems, somewhat iconic to that particular boss. And like they all kind of felt like they were all just hanging out in the same club, and they happened to be in like, I don't know, like similarly designed places,
But we do have to warn people about the killer elevator.
I died to the elevator boss. I will admit that. I didn't
I
know
did
it
on
was
purpose.
there,
It was
and
funny
I'm standing
watching.
there, and all of a sudden I get smashed, and I'm like, really? Now I have to figure out those portals again because I kept taking the wrong portals to the wrong places.
Welcome to the meat grinder.
Yep.
At one point, somebody was it Tap standing underneath and going, "What? What?" And people were like, "Move! What?" That's flat.
No, I told her to move, and I would stand there and show her what would happen if she didn't move, and I became a glob of meat, and she thought it was hilarious.
You were a sacrifice that we were
Yeah.
willing to make. Okay.
Yeah, it was worth it. Everybody was laughing, so. it
But
was
I
great.
also discovered that you can blink underneath it if you're approaching that elevator, apparently. Like,
What?
yeah, well, I was getting to the elevator and I hit blink, and then like my screen was all weird, and I was like, "Oh crap, I've clipped into something. I'm in the geometry. What's going on? This is not good." And then like I tried running backwards because I was like, "All right, well I blinked forward, so if I just run backwards," and then I stepped out of, I guess maybe I was inside the
Out of the
elevator or
code.
under. Yeah, I was underneath the elevator, inside the elevator. I don't know, but it was not pleasant.
Better than falling through the world, anyway.
Yeah, which I've done that too, actually.
There was one in Draenor that I remember. After the second boss, you always would blink, and if you did, you'd fall through the world. It was pretty consistent.
Yeah, and there was a place in Stormwind too that I blinked and ended up like 10 feet below Stormwind for a while.
Yep. Been there, done that.
But yeah, it was like that at the elevator. All in all, though, I like the new bosses so far. I think they're pretty cool. But and some of them I really like the way that they've done some of the mechanics. Like in particular, I really like the Antoran High Command, the carrying the flame things, the eternal flames from the flame level over to the shadow one. I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, that's Portal Keeper.
Portal Keeper, yeah.
Is that Portal Keeper?
That's
Oh,
Portal
yeah.
Keeper.
Right. That is Portal Keeper, yeah.
Yeah, that's
See,
nice
you
to know
wanna-
those flames are going to be there when you have to go over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you wanted to do them in the reverse order, so you're just starting now.
And I did learn something on that, though. I was talking to another raider from a different raid group, and they're actually doing that part in between the different platforms. Because you can go to the different platforms when they're not up. And you go there, and there's just nothing there except for whatever, like whatever is normally floating there, like the fire things, the eternal fires and little shadow things, or whatever are floating around on the level. But you can like go to the fire levels. So what they're doing is they're sending a person or two people. I think they were only sending one because they were only bringing one fire over, but I'm going to continue to do two. So we could send two people up when the boss is like, say, between
Right at
the
the
30
beginning
and
or something.
50. Yeah, like while
Yeah.
we're just on the main, while everybody's on the main platform, two people nip off over to the fire platform, go grab some flames, come back down and take them over to the shadow platform while we're just doing the boss and getting it down to the next portal opening. And then, then they're not having to do it while we're supposed to be burning down that fire boss on that level. So I think I'm going to change that up for next week's strat.
Did you hear the panic in Tapachino's voice when she realized only the healers and and one tank were on the main platform, and everybody else was somewhere else. And Tap's like, there's nobody down here but us guys.
yeah, she did kind of panic a little bit. She was like, what? Everybody left. Where'd they all go? We're like, we're busy, Tap. We're doing stuff.
We'll be back in a moment. Just carry on.
And you guys just went with it. Like, you made her panic more. You didn't tell her anything. And I was like, no, it's okay. They're up there doing the flames. They'll be back. I promise.
Was she getting?
It's up
was
to
she
you,
getting
Tap. You got a DPS
attacked
down.
by
She was
ads?
worried because she couldn't heal people. And you know, as a healer,
She
you
saw-
panic and you can't heal someone.
They're all out of range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she sees our health going down. She's like, I want to save you. But
Uh-huh.
she can't.
Exactly. It's very panicky. So I was like, it's okay. You just got to suffer through it. It's all right.
Maybe next week we send Tap along with the portal cruise.
Yeah, there you go. Give her something to do.
Yeah. Have her
And it was
chase around
still
portal
rough
cruise.
because we had to
Yeah.
heal everybody back up when you got back.
Well, that, and it's like the first portal, we only do one healer that goes up, and then the other two portals we send up two.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, and I liked that too, like the setting up on the strategy for that. It's like, okay, well, we're setting up this group, and plus these people are going to go to this one, and then that one. So we had like these hit squads that are going through these portals,
Yeah, it was really cool. And then we're still busy downstairs, staying out of stuff and doing regular mechanics. It's not like we're just chilling,
Oh, right.
So okay, so nothing you want to say about Guidotti, Fellhounds. Let's talk about the doggies. I think that was Charity's favorite
I love
boss
the
there,
puppies.
because that was the night that her dog took her monitor out. So
Thanks.
she just was not happy. I tried cracking jokes. I tried, giving her the goo-goo face, and man, she was just like, I'm ready to battle.
Yeah, I actually didn't recognize her when she came into voice chat, and she's all like, hi guys. I'm like, what? Who is this person that just showed up?
I mean, if your monitor had been broken, wouldn't you be upset?
Oh man, if my dog killed my monitor, I have a 55-inch curved monitor. If my dog killed my monitor, I don't even. I might.
Yeah.
I might
You'd
have
be
my
eating hot
daughter
dogs?
take the dog take her to the. Dexter needs to go to the Humane Society with you this week, daughter.
Okay, so do you want to hear Make It Worse?
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't send him
No.
away, but I would be very.
This is what makes
very
it
angry.
worse. What makes it worse is my TV got blown up from a power outage, and it was a fairly sized TV that I was using to play my game. So I bought a smaller TV to make up for having a teeny tiny monitor, so I still had my two. And I only did that like maybe 4 months ago.
Oh, so you're like on this like weird downgrade
Oh.
cycle.
Yes. And it's very frustrating. And then on top of that, I had a fender bender with my best friend with my brand new car.
Oh.
So,
Wait,
my
you
brand
ran
new-
into your best friend with your car?
no, my best friend backed up into my car.
Oh,
Because she
Oh.
didn't know it was in the driveway because I had it parked side to the side. And so so I was like freaking out. Oh, my stuff's breaking.
Yeah,
all right.
that's what-
I have to give the pathetic, sad weekly sadness story to Charity. She wins.
Hands down.
Yep. She gets the pity
Bad
points
week.
today.
So I had 1 week where I came in all mopey. I'm sorry.
No, it just. I honestly, I didn't know who you were when you first came in. I did because I don't have like the list of people up. I don't have like the overlay
Yeah.
ups. And you're like talking. I'm like, who is this person? Because you're not normally like that.
Well,
Well,
maybe our fans, they probably won't buy you a new car, but maybe our fans could chip in and get you a new monitor. We'll see what they can
There
do.
you
do
go.
A charity
Kickstarter.
Oh, charity.
Let's
A charity
GoFundMe.
Oh, I haven't
TV
heard
event.
that one before.
Oh, yeah, but- Well, yeah, but they could set up a GoFundMe. Who knows? You could end up with a really nice monitor.
She's like, I'm paying on my 110-inch curve screen now.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh. No, I couldn't do that.
I'm getting a neck ache from having to turn my head.
I'm in my 360 sim bubble.
Is that how I talk? Dang.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
all right?
There's a
Okay.
long-standing tradition we
Sometimes.
have of mocking the healer's accent
I
on this
hear.
podcast. So
I have
Wait,
an accent?
was I accidentally mocking someone's accent? Because I do that sometimes.
Oh, we mock Tap's accent all the time.
Oh, we do. We do.
We haven't done all taken too much yet, but
No.
wait,
No.
though, it's not an accent; it's a
that is
dialect,
a sweet Southern
right?
boy there,
I
right
guess.
there.
I'm from California. I moved to South Carolina, and now I'm in Missouri. So it's kind of messed up if I have an accent.
Well,
Let's
I'm
just
from
say
Montana, so
It just doesn't sound Canadian.
doesn't
Eh?
sound Canadian.
I never say that ever.
Oh,
Never.
Oh,
if you come from the South, it should be "Hey, y'all."
That's not true.
You do say it, actually.
You
Once.
do.
I did it once. I did it
No,
once
you
when
do
you
it
were.
by accident. You do it by
You
accident.
do.
You don't realize it. You do.
Nah, never.
Yeah.
Never.
Oh, don't,
Find it on the podcast.
oh,
I dare you.
don't deny it, you hoser.
Now you just went half Scottish, half I don't know what.
Mine all turn Jamaican when I try and do it.
I went to go see Epistle in Canada, and I sat there the whole weekend, and I was like,
Just waiting. You were
just
waiting.
waiting.
For it.
And I was like, man, he's never going to say it. And all of a sudden, it just popped out during, I think we were playing Cards for Humanity.
That was probably it. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there it is.
I say it once, and they never let me forget it.
Nope.
Nope.
That's what your friends do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
He's
They support
sorry.
you in your faults and your good things.
So you notice we just started to tease you a little about speech patterns. That means we like you.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yep.
It's a sign of love. I know.
There you go.
All right, so enough about Fellhounds.
We didn't
already
even talk
touched on-
about it.
Yeah, that's
Well,
about it. Right?
We didn't really.
Not
I-
really, yeah.
I gotta say I like the consuming sphere that comes out that makes everybody run around all panicky, so they don't get sucked into it and they seem to go in all different directions.
It is not fun.
I kind
it's
of
not
the
fun.
mage. I like it because I have blink.
Oh,
so I
you
can
have blink. That's
Right,
just beautiful.
it is, and
Try healing
also-
people and running from that thing.
oh, you don't have tranking and
Tranking and
Well,
tranking.
no,
No,
I don't have
she's a
pots
shaman.
like a druid. I have to hit a
Right.
cooldown to do that.
Oh, but yeah, I
Oh,
do like
that's rough.
that consuming sphere that comes out. I think that's pretty cool.
It is very.
Can you turn
cool.
into a wolf while you're in the middle of a raid?
Yes, but not while
Oh.
casting.
Right.
Like I can't heal you, so I'll just be running. That's fine. You guys are. Oh.
Hey, but don't shaman have that little whirlwindy jump forward tornado-y thing, whatever that's
Yeah, I hit it and then I heal and then I run.
called?
Well, that's
It's
what
like
the
a-
warriors have. We just have to turn around and run away.
Well, you have a heroic leap.
Yeah, we can use that, but sometimes you leap into things you shouldn't.
Right.
So yeah, in raids, that's not always your best friend.
Yeah, you have to look before you heroic
Leap.
leap.
Hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some bad leaping.
Don't heroic leap into the fire
Yep.
type of things.
Or you leap in and a bomb shows up underneath you, and it's like, right, there we go.
I could totally see that happening. Like, you're setting up your heroic leap, and you've got your little circle on the ground, and you click the button just as some mechanic that you don't want to get into shows up in that spot.
I'm hearing this is inspiration for Donnabelle. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know what
Nice.
I've been doing lately. I don't know if I moved my key or what, but I keep pushing my key to leap forward, and I'm leaping backwards. So I don't know what's going on.
Mm.
Oh,
I'll
you
have
got
to figure it out.
disengage as a warrior, huh?
I guess
Ooh.
so. They changed it and didn't tell me about it because I'm like, God darn, they already backed up
Then
and
it needs to
jumped
heal
into
you.
something
Dang.
right behind me again.
I
Now,
tell
see,
you, I don't know how many times I've disengaged and went right off the platform.
See, my warrior, I play a fury warrior, one of my alts, and I've always made my heroic leap a middle mouse button, so I can like click the middle mouse button, which is like mouse wheel down, and then just wherever my mouse cursor is, just click and I go to that spot. So
Yeah. I've
You-
never had a problem with it until Tomb. I don't know what's been going on, but it's always been in the same place. I use it, the way I've always used it, and suddenly I start going backwards.
weird.
Liz is messing with you.
Well, I'm waiting for them to mess with us some more. So it's
Well,
usual.
I personally think the best thing about Fellhounds is the purple dog. I love the way that purple dog looks.
Well, then aren't you excited that you could get it as a mount?
I was going to say, is it a pet or a mount?
No, not yet.
I saw somebody with a winged fellhound looking. Well, not a fellhound. It was. It was. You know that weird like fell creature that you can get from Argus. It was a winged version of those that I saw somebody running around with. Only it had horns. I saw that today. But you know, my favorite thing about fellhounds was before we started the fight, the two hounds like took off frolicking into the distance.
Yeah, just left.
They just
Like,
up and
you're taking
went.
too long.
We're done.
Yeah, they like up and went away. I was like, oh, wait, what happened?
We defeated them. They're bored of us.
They got scared. They were like, damn, you one-shotted Guidotti.
Grath A.
Ugh.
We're leaving.
So who's out of the ones we've killed so far? You know, Guidotti, Worldbreaker, Fellhounds, Antorus High Command, and Portal Keeper. What's everybody's favorite?
I haven't done the first two yet, so I wasn't there Friday.
I mean, to me, the
that makes the
first-
choice easier.
Yeah,
Council for me.
I think I liked the Portal Keepers
Yeah,
because there was just so much to it, and I like the fights where you've got to do different things, and you know you've got this platform. It reminded me of the spiders in Emerald Nightmare.
Yeah.
Why you gotta ruin it for me, Lorelai? I liked that boss.
Sorry.
I'm going to say Portal Keeper too, but not because of the boss, because of Tap's, because
Her
of her
panic
panic.
moment?
Yeah, her panic. That just made the whole boss. She's, I mean, it keeps going through my head. She's like, there's nobody down here. I just.
Where's everybody?
I gotta go with Portal Keeper too, actually. Although I do like it's close between Antorus and High Command, but I really loved that whole mechanic of moving that fire to that other one, to that other platform.
Very interesting. It's very different, and I like that it's different than anything we've done before.
So let's talk
that's
briefly
always
about
neat, yeah.
that. What is the purpose of moving the fire for our fans? To let them know why we're doing that.
Okay. The fire is the first platform that opens at 90% of the boss's health. And up there are these eternal flames that are sitting there, and you get one on you by just touching it. You just run into it, and it gets on you. And once it gets on you, it puts like a damage debuff on you kind of thing, and it has a timer where it will drop off of you. Now, if you dispel it, or you immunity, like Ice Block or maybe Turtle or something, then it drops off of you, but the flame goes away. But if you just let it expire, that flame will just drop on the ground wherever you were standing when the timer went off on it. And then you can pick it back up again. You can carry it some more. Now, the thing is in the Shadow Realm, the boss has this debuffy kind of thing where it's similar to the Kill Jaden fight when the whole world goes dark and you have to run over next to Illidan in order to get the sightless gaze thing or whatever it is, or not the sightless gaze, but you got to get the thing from Illidan that allows you to be able to see the dudes and target them and attack them and heal people. It's very similar to that. But if you stand near one of those fires, one of those eternal fires that have been dropped, then it negates that debuff, and you can just see that platform as normal, and you can heal people as normal, and you can attack the boss as normal. So it negates all of that. And so if you go and you bring a couple of those flames to the shadow platform and you drop them off there and leave them there, then when you arrive to kill the mini boss on that platform, as long as nobody picks them both up, because we dropped 2 up there, then everybody can stand within a few yards of those flames and they can kill the mini boss on that section.
So, in a short recap, it's like bringing a torch into a mine so you can see where you're at.
Yeah, basically, yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool though, in that you can like pick it up and move it, but it doesn't drop exactly where you drop it off at. It like where it drops off. Like I was standing in one spot and because I moved it at one point, and it dropped off me, but it kind of swirls off you and then lands on the ground a few yards away from you, and then it turns back into an eternal flame graphic.
Yeah, and you don't have to step right on it to get it either, because I got over to the shadow and I just went over by it because Jobui's like, okay, everybody stack near it, and I got over close to it and it goes zoink, right into me, and then Jobui's like, well, don't stack near that one.
Right. I was like, move to the one by the gate. But you know what's funny is even in the Fat Boss video that I watched, which showed them using it, one of their players went over and not only picked it up, but they picked it up and then they immuned it. It was a mage, and they hit ice block and they immuned it and destroyed it, and it made it like really hard for them on that one, and they lamented about that at the end of the PTR video. But yeah, but I tell you, putting two of them down there, one of them's like a backup, it's like a failsafe. But if you do happen to accidentally pick one up on that, just don't immune it. Just let it drop back off onto the ground so that everybody can see and heal and all that stuff. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that you can like move that over and that one platform can affect the other one. And I actually wished there was a little bit more of that in that fight. Like maybe there was something from the fell that you could take somewhere or something like that.
Yeah, all right. Epistle, your favorite?
Oh, I think it's council at the beginning because it's active, it's moving, it's a bunch of complex dance moves to figure out. I like the combination of mechanics that are all going in from a tanking perspective, and I think the fact that after a couple of runs we got those basics down and pull it together, there's a real sense of satisfaction for me in doing that. Now, of course, I'm looking forward to Heroic, but it was good for our first go in.
And just for our viewers out there, he's saying he's actually talking about the Antoran High Command, but he's referencing the Hellfire High Council from Hellfire Citadel.
See, this is what happens when I'm taking down a world boss while I try to talk at the same time. It's just, I lose my names.
I thought it was a Canadian thing. I was like, all right, maybe they don't call it command, maybe they call it a council. I don't know.
Well,
Prime Minister.
He's gotten into the habit ever since we did the council fight in Hellfire Citadel that any boss fight that has multiple bosses in it, they call it a council fight now.
You know what? I'm just going to call the group thingies. That's what I'm going to say. I like the group thingies boss fight where there's like the people doing the stuff.
Get in the thing and press the stuff.
Yeah, I do the stuff. Yeah.
All right, Charity, what was your favorite?
My favorite boss?
Yep, of the four we did.
I agree. I like the portal boss for complexity. I feel like it's different than any of the boss fights I've done before, and I like boss fights where you're going to know what boss fight it is just by describing it. Because if you say, oh, the boss fight, where the ads come and we got to turn the boss this way and then you got to stay away from the tail, you're like, what boss fight is that? There's like 20 of them like that. But when they're so different, it's awesome. Like even the dog fight. I love the dogs. They're so cool. I love the way they're designed, but the only difference is that portal's sucking you in as we turn the bosses away from each other. And we just did that with the two dragons, separating them in, was it Nighthold?
Yeah.
Or no, Emerald Dream, where we had to separate the dragons. So, it's kind of the same idea. So I like the fact that the portal fight is so different.
I think we're going to run into a lot of that too with the Life Binder, because that's a boss fight that one, you don't fight the boss, but it's like nothing we've ever seen in a boss fight. It's a tower defense game.
Ooh, nice. I like those games.
Yeah. We'll see how those go. We'll see how it goes. That'll be the next one.
Yeah, that'll be next week. We should be hitting that next week. So
awesome. Well, guys, I hear that music. I hear that it's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hi, lots of exciting news from WarcraftPets.com today. Patch 7.3.5 will have at least one new pet, a magic pet called the Male Elemental. This fun pet will feature male-themed attacks such as package drop, snail mail, and many more. Rumor has it that this pet was inspired by a suggestion made on the forums, but with a little twist. There may be a male-themed quest involved in getting this one, and I can't wait to try it. New PvP challenges and a cosmetic reward await us with the new patch too. Winning 10 queued PvP pet battles using teams of each family will grant you the Family Brawler achievement, as well as a tabard with a paw print on the front. I may have to dust off my PvP teams and get back to work. And finally, there's an unusual pet in our future. Players will be able to meet and help the spirit of a young Draenei girl named Una who lost her life on Argus. After continuing her quest line, you'll be able to adopt her. Her story will continue with the introduction of the Lightforged Draenei. Hats off to Blizzard for continuing to make pets more than just a Pokemon game. I've been enjoying the new dungeons, and I hope you are too.
Okay.
Awesome. Oh,
I'm confused. M-A-L-E? M-A-I-L? Male theme? What?
Yeah, it's like a little mailman.
Oh, see, that was not where I went. I went with the armor, and then I went with a gender, and then I was very confused.
gender confused.
Oh my.
It looks like a little Kirin Tor, a little blue floaty guy from the Kirin Tor.
But mail delivery. Now I've got it.
And
now
he's
I'm
delivering mail. They think that you might have to do some mail delivery around Azeroth, which I think is going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right. And then there is...
Getting Deeps with JoBui.
Don't panic. You're learning new mechanics, getting a look at new bosses, and generally getting your feet wet. So don't worry too much about numbers. For now, just get used to the new stuff. Keep an eye out for some new gear. You'll get through it. As you gather up some new gear and get used to these new mechanics, you'll do just fine, and so will your DPS. So don't panic, and keep getting those deeps.
All right. And now for our gender confused tank and address.
What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress?
Jeez.
How am I supposed to start now?
Yeah. Badly.
So for this week's Come At Me a Tanking Minute, I want to talk a little bit about basic tanking patterns again. However, this time I want to apply them to our new instance. So if you're in there and tanking and feeling panicky and anxious and nervous, here's the basics that you need to know for at least the first 4 bosses that we've done. Boss number 1, Guidotti. What you need to do with this one is stand, beat up on the boss, and then run out and back. And that's about it. Now, it's a little more complicated than that. The fell bombardment that's going to hit you, you need to be running in a half circle, running it away from other people, and usually raids are putting their people in the middle, all the DPS and heals, so that when you run around the exterior perimeter of the circle, one direction, the other tank going the other direction, you should be fine and keeping clear of everyone and everything. The other trick is it hits over multiple times, so it's not just run out and stop, it's keep on running, and then once you're halfway there, kind of do a little loop back again, without getting hit. So basically, Guidotti is just a run out and run back, at least on normal. Fellhounds. Oh, sorry, what? Oh, yeah, Fellhounds. About as dull as you can get. There are 2 bosses. You pull them apart, you tank and spank. It is ridiculously simple. They've just thrown in to stop you from going asleep. A little bit you have to dodge, and you'll drift a little bit, so you have to kind of master the positioning. It's only about really being able to maneuver as a tank. Otherwise, it's not quite as dull as some of the ones in other instances, tank and spanking, but it's kind of in the neighborhood. Okay, 3, High Command. That's the one we've been talking about a little bit more tonight. Interesting fight, but it, from a tank's perspective, is 3 points. You go from one point to another to another. Frontal cone is the other thing to know about, so throw in a tank swap on that, and that's really it. So you're standing at 1 point, position A. You and the other tank are tank swapping position so that you're facing away from the raid. We did it at a 45-degree angle. That seems to be working. 90-degree angle. That seems to be working for us. And then move to the next position. Same setup for us. And if your group's doing the shields properly, you won't even have to move. Easy peasy. The only thing to watch out that's a bit of a trick on that one is when the boss starts to cast, like he's transferring command or shifting or something. get ready to go to that next position. But otherwise, it's an A, B, C rotation with moving the frontal cone away. Easy peasy. Portal Keeper. That's a little more fun. But again, the basic patterns there are you have a tank swap at 3 stacks. You have bad floor that you alternate back and forth between 2 positions. And then one tank gets the lucky end of the stick and gets to go to the alternate room. And I rock, paper, scissors with Darg for this one, and I get to go to the other rooms and have some fun. The other thing is you might want to be aware that you might want to be aware of your cooldowns to, like, Blessing of Freedom would be helpful if you, say, got stuck on the floor. Less DPS would die if you use things like that. That's just a pro tip for the really excellent tanks to be on top of. Other than that, fairly simple patterns. When we get to the other bosses, I'll give you the basics on those. And that's Come At Me, a tanking minute or 2 or 3.
And our newest minute.
Baby, you got the heals. Now heal and don't die, 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 die. Heal and don't die, 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 die.
Shepherd splashing into the heals. This week we will discuss knowing your interface and quickly healing with what works for you. Obviously, your interface is important as a damage class or tank. Healing is no different. Not getting a heal off fast enough can make or break your raid. So if you don't know where all your buttons are, what they do, or your health bars are too far from other cooldowns, it most likely will cause deaths and name calling. Sometimes even getting you kicked out of raids, and no one wants that. Make sure all your bars are relatively close to buttons you have to click if you don't use macros or a mouse to hit them. Some add-ons and options that can help you make your interface work for you are HealBot. HealBot lets you use your mouse buttons to heal targets without clicking most of your heals individually. This includes cleanses of all kinds. Mouse over macros. Mouse over macros allow you to simply scroll over a target and auto-target them when you use your spells. This helps eliminate clicking and scrolling over to hit spells. Now you just scroll over, click the button for your spell. Decursive. Decursive is a lightweight add-on that consists of only squares that represent each person in the raid. These squares ding and change color when afflicted with a debuff you can cleanse. You can quickly click, then get right back to healing. That takes away from the time it takes to find that people are diseased, so you can go back to pro healing. 4. Your WoW interface and its options. What a lot of people don't know is they have used add-ons for so long that Blizzard has now implemented most of what you use to get from add-ons into your interface. You can make your heal bars small or big, change class colors, move bars where you want them, show debuffs, remove debuffs, and so much more. Make sure before you download a ton of extra stuff to your computer, you make sure Warcraft doesn't already have it. I will link pros, cons to all these things and a couple other ones to the Tavern Facebook for everyone to easily access. Remember, not everyone will be comfortable using the same interface or add-on, but don't be shy about trying new things until you find what works for you. If you have any questions or you would just like to say hey, feel free to tweet me at LoveSweetCharity. I'll leave the info in the Facebook, and that is a Splash into the Heals Minute with Charity.
And then there's... It's WFN News, Warcraft Fafford News. The Mage Tower is up at the Broken Shores with fell treasures and reputable. Weekly event is my daughter's favorite, Time Walking Cataclysm. WoW tokens have dropped in price, 167. Not a lot, but at least it's down. Dark Moon Fair is live once again this week. And Mythic Difficulty and Raid Finder Wing 1 starts up tomorrow. So, thanks everybody. That was an awesome podcast.
Yeah.
We hit the time just perfect. I want to thank Charm for all of her beautiful music. Go visit her website and her YouTube channel. The links are listed in the description below. Plus BenSound at bensound.com. And as always, Vincent Moretto for our lovely tavern music. Thanks, guys, for coming. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
See you next week.
See you,
Have
folks.
a good day.
I kissed an orc and I liked it. The taste of his Bulgur chapstick. I kissed an orc just to try it. I hope my ally friends don't mind it.
and that has been JoeBuoy. Stop! Who's doing that?
That
It was
sounded
not
bad.
me. I was not me.
Who was typing? It's messing me up.
I was trying to be encouraging.
Your name covered my words.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Oh, I don't know where to start.
Just start off with
Me.
feel free.
Okay. See, I didn't even say it right.
She totally was like, JoeBuoy. I
And
know.
it's blinking all over.
Yeah.
I
it.
don't know. I don't know real life names. Okay, one more time.
No,
Um,
you're fine. I can edit all that. You're good.
No, it didn't sound right.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Do it again.
This week is Splashing into the Heals with Shepard. This week we're going to discuss knowing your interface and quickly healing with what works for you. Obviously, your interface is important as a damage class or tank. Give me a second. I gotta figure out noise. I have a lot of noise going on.
It's all right. You could hear
You could have birds.
Epistle.
It was like-
you could hear
it was-
Epistle as he was talking.
I know.
He's fighting a boss just frantically.
No,
I
actually.
just gotta
if
read
you're-
through this as fast as I can.
If you're hearing clicking, actually, I was playing with my pen, and I shouldn't have been doing that.
Oh,
That's not a pen.
Oh my.
It was a pen.
Okay, let me try this again. Decursive. Decursive is a lightweight add-on that consists of only squares that represent each person in the raid. These squares ding and change color when afflicted with a debuff you can cleanse. You can quickly click them, then get right back to healing. This takes a time away from finding... Oh, and now I messed up. I'm going to start that part over.
Not bad.
I got
Yeah.
pretty far. Okay.
She sounds really pleased.
Very, very pro.
Okay.
Yay!
All right.
Thank you.